Welcome to the AAA Pathfinders series, where we feature advertising scholars and practitioners who have made an impact on the world of advertising through their research and practice. A Pathfinder is someone who not only innovates with their discoveries, but rather leverages their discoveries and achievements to carve pathways for others. Hence the name of our series. And it is my distinct honor today to welcome Dr. Marla Stafford, who is the Executive Associate Dean and William F. Hara Distinguished Chair at the Hara College of Hospitality at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Among her several accolades, including over 100 peer-reviewed journal articles, 3 books, over 24 invited articles and book chapters, and a large body of conference presentations, as well as a long list of awards and honors, and probably most relevant to the American Academy of Advertising, the Ivan L. Preston Outstanding Contribution to Research on Advertising Award, being president of the AAA, and just most recently, the 2021 recipient of the AAA's most prestigious distinction of being named an AAA Fellow. Dr. Marla, welcome and thank you for conducting the interview with me today. Congratulations on the most recent award, and congratulations on a career filled not only with accomplishments alongside empathy, care, and service to our academy and the large body of scholars you've mentored over the past years. Thank you for coming to this interview today.
Thank you, Salim. I'm delighted to be here.
Wonderful. I'd like to start by asking you to reflect on what does it mean for you to be named the 41st Fellow of the American Academy of Advertising?
Salim, I am so humbled and so honored to have been selected for this award. It means a lot to me because I've loved the 3As since I got involved with them almost 30 years ago. And to be elected as a fellow by my peers, as I said, is extremely humbling, extremely exciting, and extremely honoring. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Fantastic. In your column for the 3As newsletter, you've reflected on your journey with the 3As and remembered the first 3A conference you've attended. For those who have not read your newsletter article yet, could you share a little bit about that memory of the 1992 San Antonio 3As meeting?
Oh, I'd be happy to. That had such a positive impact on my life. I might add, as I mentioned in the column, I actually arrived in San Antonio not feeling very well. And I stayed at a hotel away from the conference, so I needed to walk a little bit to the conference, which in normal times is fine. I was not feeling well. And actually, I obviously did not even want to go to the conference at that point simply because how ill I was feeling. But I did. I needed to do that. I needed to make my presentations, and I was excited to do so. So, excuse me, at that conference, I made 2 presentations, and I think the first one was on puffery, which was in a session with the renowned Ivan Preston. And that session I remember quite well. I don't recall the presentation as well because of my physical state, but people loved the presentation. They introduced me to Ivan. And even though I don't remember all the discussions about potential research we can do, I remember Ivan quite well. And Ivan was kind and warm and interested in my research. And he was so encouraging to me about research, about advertising, about getting involved in the academy. And he showed me what 3As was all about. And I was hooked. And it was Ivan and all the people in that session. They were so wonderful. And I decided that day I was interested in advertising. I loved advertising, but I was going to make that the key area of research and teaching in my career. And it was that conference and Ivan and that session that helped me make that decision.
That's fascinating. What a great story. You've been part of the 3As for almost 30 years, if I'm not mistaken, and you've only missed a few conferences. As you look back at how the 3As has evolved, what has changed and what has stayed the same?
Well, I see some changes in 3As, but I do see some things that stay the same. And those things that stay the same and have stayed the same are good to stay the same, because what hasn't changed is the basic DNA of the organization, essentially. The organization is filled with scholars, there are practitioners in the organization, and there is a warmth and authenticity about this particular organization. And I don't see that in all professional organizations. That has not changed. at all. It seems that the people that do come in, they understand that, they love it, they get involved. And there's this, as I said, this warmth and this authenticity. And I love that about 3As. And I hope that never changes, because that's what makes the organization what it is. What has changed in the organization is that we've seen advertising change as an industry, and the 3As has evolved with it, and they need to, but they've done that. And so you see changes at the conference on presentations, on topics, on what's going on in the world. The digital world that we live in now was not the same when I first joined 3As. And we're seeing now, of course, that digital advertising, it's really not just digital advertising. Advertising, so much of it is digital. Digital marketing is what the world is all about. So the 3As has actually evolved with these changes, and that's what's very important for them to change. I've also seen 3As change their conference locations. And that is because we went to some very, very small markets many, many years ago. And now we are seeing conferences in bigger markets where we can make stronger contacts with the industry. And that's very important for 3As as they move forward.
Over the course of your career, you've made significant contributions to advertising research, and in distinctive areas that where sort of everyone knows that if you're looking for these topics, you know that these topics, you will get the name of Dr. Marla Stafford. Areas such as sustainability, cause-related marketing, and nonprofit marketing, as well as health issues and well-being. These contributions are numerous, yet I was wondering if you could share with us your first publishing experience. What was the study about, and how has that particular experience shaped your research agenda?
Well, Salim, I did have a few publications very early on, but what I'd like to talk about is my experience with my first Journal of Advertising, which was my first major article. That particular publication and piece of research was off my dissertation. And the topic was on services advertising and looking at emotional and rational effects across a couple different types of services, as well as media effects. And what was interesting is in my dissertation, we always hope to get these wonderful results. And I actually found no interaction effects, which of course is disappointing when you want to find something really interesting and you want to get it published. Nevertheless, my study did get a revise and resubmit from the Journal of Advertising, and I learned the process of getting published in the Journal of Advertising, what it takes, all the information that I needed to add to the article to make things clearer for the reader. And it taught me about the review process, and it was subsequently published. And I was, of course, very excited. I remember the day I got the revise and resubmit, I was practically running around the halls, very excited about the possibility. So that really gave me good insight into what you need to do to be successful in publishing. Doing research and publishing are really two different things. We can do good research, but unless we really learn the reviewing process and the publishing process, you're not going to be able to get your research into the journals. You must do good research, but you also must learn this process. So it really taught me about that process and set me on the stage for future research and future publications. It also was the launch of my research in the area of services advertising. And that was my initial stream. I really enjoyed it. Still dabble in that occasionally, although I've moved on to topics that I've become more passionate about, but it did set the stage for a stream of research in services advertising. And I was really excited to have a couple key pieces out there in that particular area.
Moving on to a slightly different topic, I would be remiss not to highlight that you are among only 3 women advertising scholars who have received the 3A's most prestigious distinction of fellow. Noting that the list so far includes 41 influential scholars, you among them. How do you feel about that?
Salim, I feel wonderful about that. I think we have a lot of women in the field that have done outstanding work. The 2 female fellows before me, Esther Thorson and Pat Rose, both did wonderful work in different ways, and they contributed to the discipline and 3As in different ways. And I'm delighted to be the 3rd fellow, third female fellow after them. It's very exciting. Also paves the way for future women who are doing outstanding work. To think about that in the future, I never even thought about the Fellow Award when I first joined 3As. That was just something I didn't even conceive of. But it does show that, along with the corporate world and industry, women make important contributions to the world, and we are seeing more acknowledgement of that throughout the world and in academia. And I was very excited to be the first female editor of the Journal of Advertising too. Now we've since had two others. The current editor of JA is an esteemed colleague of mine. So we're seeing some of those changes, and I think it just shows that 3As recognizes everybody in their own way. And I'm excited about that. And I'm excited for the future of the discipline and 3As.
Nearly 30 years later, could you tell us about what you're working on right now, or something that you're passionate about at the moment?
Well, my passions right now do focus on health and well-being and the consumer interest. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be teaching a course this fall on the consumer society. I have been in administration for about 16 years, and so I've only been able to sort of dabble in my research because of the time commitment to administration. And I might mention this right now. I'm very, very excited to be making a change. I've stepped down from my current role, and I will be moving to the Lee Business School at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And I'm very excited about that because now I can return to my roots in advertising as well as marketing, but doing things that actually can make a difference in people's lives. Just completed an article. It is forthcoming in the International Journal of Advertising. It was completed a little bit ago, but it's on advertising and well-being. And I'm looking forward to doing more research in this area, looking at things like the environment and public health. I just completed a certificate from the Yale School of Public Health on that, and I'm excited to incorporate that into my future research. So those are the things I'm looking toward doing, especially as I move into my new role in the Lee Business School.
Congratulations on the new role, and we look forward to reading these articles.
Thank
Over
you.
the years, I've heard that academia is not for the faint of the heart. The demands of being a teacher, scholar, and in some cases, as yours, an administrator, means that you are constantly working. The work seems endless, and much of it seems somewhat invisible. Your tenacity as a scholar, teacher, and administrator are certainly noteworthy. So I'm wondering if you can share, specifically with emerging scholars, your recipe for success.
Celine, you make a couple of very accurate statements in there. It's not for the faint of heart. I think the important thing is to do what you love. We all get into academia because there is something we love, because we are passionate about something. And that has to come from within, and the desire to get work done has to come from within. And that's a very important thing for somebody who does want to succeed in academia. And as long as you continue on that path, you will be successful. But it does have to come from within, and the work is endless. And you have to remember there is always work to be done. Now, I'm a person who likes closure and likes to check things off my list. So even at the end of the day, as I sit down to relax, I'm like, oh, what else can I do and get done tonight? And yes, that bodes well in getting things done, but we need to remember we have other lives. And it's very important to have that balance. And I prefer to use the term work-life integration as opposed to work-life balance. And I did a column for the newsletter many years ago about this. I've been in these Sweet Adelines for many, many years in Memphis and here in Las Vegas. And it's easy when we were in person, of course, to come home after a rehearsal, relax, and pull out a manuscript draft, because that's how I'd relax. Sounds silly, but I did enjoy that. And as long as you can have that work-life integration, you can be successful and have your personal life, as long as you know there is always work to be done. You have to cut it off. You have to cut it off on your own, because otherwise you will be constantly working. So have that balance. Go do what you love to do. And if you come home and you want to work on a draft of a manuscript or grade papers, that's fine. If you don't, that's okay too. Just make plans to do it, to obviously get things done that you need to. But it's on your own time, and it's how you blend it in with your own world.
Absolutely. I mean, I fear that when I tell people that one of the ways that I relax is to run data analyses, they think I'm crazy. But we all tend to find these areas where we, this is how we live and this is our life. So great advice. My last question as a 3A's fellow and certainly a Pathfinder, how do you envision the path forward for the American Academy of Advertising?
Well, I think 3A's continues to do wonderful things. And one of the changes that's gone on over the years is that they have really focused on building industry relationships and doing work that's relevant. I think I alluded to that earlier. This needs to continue. As scholars, we really need to do rigorous theoretical work, but this work has to have meaning to the discipline. And I think 3A's needs to continue to encourage that and support that through the research grants and other things as well. So I think that's one thing that's very important. The other thing is I think that 3A's needs to reach out to people in various business disciplines and even other areas where we can work with them in doing advertising and related research, because interdisciplinary work is so important. I've done interdisciplinary work, other people have, and I think this is a way to better understand the industry, better understand theories and how they apply to advertising, and continue to learn. And 3A's is an academic organization. And one of the things we need to do is continue to learn about advertising and contribute to the overarching discipline. So as long as we continue to do that, I think we're going to continue to grow, and 3A's will continue to do what they've been doing, and more so and better. They're a wonderful organization, and I know they will thrive as we move into the future.
Thank you so much. That was Dr. Marla Stafford from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and as of this year's annual meeting, the most recent fellow of the American Academy of Advertising. Dr. Stafford, thank you so much for spending time with me today, and thank you for your service to our Academy over the years and major contributions to advertising and marketing research. Congratulations.